2004. I'm Michaeline.
And I'm Chris, and today we're bringing you news about assisted suicide and if it shouldn't be implemented in the U.S.
For those who don't know, assisted suicide is the end-of-life measure for a person suffering from a painful terminal illness. An article showed us who's in charge of the euthanasia. Chris will tell you more about that.
Patients in this study had different perspectives on who actually controls the decision in regards to euthanasia. The actual power to undertake euthanasia was discussed previously from a theoretical ethical point of view by Haves and Welly. They argued that euthanasia in the Netherlands was meant to increase patient autonomy, but they have in fact resulted in an increase of the power of physicians. According to the legislation in the Netherlands, a patient's request for euthanasia is not a significant ground for euthanasia to be performed unless it's approved by two independent physicians first. Dutch studies show that only some requests are granted and then the rest are turned down by physicians owing to a failure to fulfill their relevant criteria.
Another article we found mentions how assisted suicide can be used as a way for the medical field to take advantage of those laws. They also include that majority of the people who request assisted suicide are found to have undiagnosed depression. According to Herbert Hedin, a medical director of the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, but according to our interviews, some people have different opinions.
We have 3 reporters in the field to conduct some interviews about the topic, and here's what they have to say.
Here's him. Alright, I got some few questions, that's okay?
That's fine.
Are you familiar with assisted suicide?
The concept, yes.
Do you know what that is?
I do.
What is it?
The ability to legally kill yourself for medical purposes. For example, if you're suffering a terminal disease, you can have the option to end your life there or prolong suffering.
Okay, do you believe assisted suicide should be a legal option for terminally ill individuals?
I think in certain cases it should.
What do you mean certain cases?
Well, if somebody is definitely struggling, they've been struggling for years and it's terminal to the point where there's no return, I think there should be a process probably extensively to decide whether they should be able to end it sooner and more humanely than continue their suffering.
Alright. Do you think religious beliefs should influence the legality of assisted suicide?
I don't think it should, but I think it will. Certain political figures are much more religious than others, I think. You know, the religion always has to do part with any political decision. Whether it should be a sin or not, it's always going to have an impact, but I personally don't think it should.
It's hard to believe. And then, in your opinion, what role should healthcare providers play in assisting with end-of-life decisions like suicide?
I think there should definitely be, like I said, an extensive investigation, maybe a long process before they make any decisions, but I think they should be helpful, maybe guiding. If it's not their time and there's hope, I think they should keep striving them to work harder and to continue their journey. But if it gets to that point, I think it should only be right to end the process.
Oh, thanks for the interview, Mr.
Sam.
No, we're out.
Have you heard of or do you know what assisted suicide is?
Assisted suicide?
Assisted suicide.
Yes.
How much do you know about the topic?
I don't know much about it.
So basically assisted suicide, like think of someone who is crippled or they're in a tough situation in life, and then they would go over to the government and they would help them pass on peacefully through like a gas chamber, sucking up the oxygen, something like that.
So based on that information, what's your opinion on this? Do you think this will benefit the United States or it should not be implemented?
So my personal opinion on assisted suicide or euthanasia is that it's an individual's right to determine how and when they choose to die. I think there has to be some sort of resource to people who make these decisions, that it can't just be made because I had a bad Tuesday that I'm going to do it. But yeah, if you are, in a late term cancer patient, or you have, a debilitating disease that is only going to end with you dying anyway, it's probably a choice that a reasonable adult should be able to make.
Do you think that the majority of the United States would support this, or do you think it would be a niche?
No, I don't think. I think, as we've seen with the abortion issue, it's going to be a decision made along party lines, just like everything else is, unfortunately, in the United States. So there will probably be places that approve euthanasia or assisted suicide, in places because of religious beliefs or whatever that don't approve it.
Okay, so based off of what you know and how you feel, if this came up to you, what would your opinion be? Would you say yes or no to this?
If I was given the option as to like vote on it or something,
Yeah.
yeah, I would. Again, I believe that people should have the right, and an informed decision, but people should have the right to make a determination when it comes to end of life. Like I said, I don't think it's something that should be taken lightly, but given the chance that the patient won't recover, that they have already kind of made a determination that they're not going to do anything else. You know, like a prime example, someone who is, you know, late stage cancer, where chemo's not working, radiation's not working, all we're doing is palliative care, where we kind of keep them from being in pain. If that patient is, you know, and some patients won't. Some patients will want to go all the way to the end. But for those that are like, I don't want to suffer anymore, they should be given the opportunity.
Yeah, so like when they're suffering more than we're helping them.
Exactly.
Like so just keep on.
But it shouldn't be,
going
yeah,
forward.
but it shouldn't be forced. It should be a decision made by that patient, and if they have family members, by the family members. But there are, you know, there are countries in Europe that have already authorized, that have already allowed this. So if you think about free will and the opportunity to make decisions on your own behalf on almost anything we do, something as simple as a haircut, you know, something as important as how you choose to end your time on Earth should be a decision that humans allowed to make. I think anyway. It's a personal opinion.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you for your time.
Absolutely, of course.
Thank you for work. I am a physical therapist. I do home care physical therapy.
Are you familiar with what assisted suicide is?
I am familiar with what assisted suicide is.
Could you give me like a broad definition if you know that?
So, assisted suicide is essentially someone who usually has to do with like a terminal illness, like after the term there's no chance for recovery or survival, and they are looking for, not to use the definition, but assistance in choosing to end their life on their terms.
Okay. And then do you believe assisted suicide should be a legal option for terminally ill individuals?
So I should be clear, I'm not sure where this interview is going to be sent to. I'm really still forming like a solid opinion on it. I tend towards the yes. If someone has zero chance of survival, especially if there's going to be a significant amount of pain involved, I believe the ability to control the end of your life is at least worth considering. Like I said, it seems like there's such a gray area in terms of what's truly terminal and whether this suicide itself is actually something I don't support at all. So.
Yeah. Okay, and then my next question would be, do you think religious beliefs should be influenced in the legality of assisted suicide?
The legality. Well, the people who decide what laws get made usually have religious belief of their own, and therefore it's difficult to subtract someone's deeply held belief about what life is all about from the laws they pass. That being said, they represent the people who elected them. Therefore, should someone's religious belief influence the law itself? I guess yes, and that if their religious beliefs would help get them elected to represent the people that help pass the law, then yeah, their deeply held religious beliefs, what they believe life's about, should.
And then, in your opinion, what role should healthcare providers play in assisting with end-of-life decisions like suicide?
I believe to relay the most truthful, best, most correct information possible regarding the diagnosis, and do that in the most empathetic way possible. So really letting someone know the honest, the truth of the situation when it comes to their health outcomes and their life, prognosis definition. Those are difficult questions. Not at all what I was expecting, and I hope not to be posted.
Yes.
How much do you know about it? Are you familiar with it?
Yes.
How do you feel about it? Do you feel like it's beneficial and the United States should implement it, or do you feel like we should continue not having it?
I feel conflicted because if it's assisted by someone who you love and care about and you're watching someone suffer, then I could understand it. I couldn't do it, but I could understand it.
Mm-hmm.
If it's assisted by a doctor, I think they need to steer clear of that, because a doctor's job is to first do no harm, and helping someone kill themselves is not harm.
Mm-hmm.
Is harm.
Do you think people would agree with you on this, or do you think if it came to a vote, the United States would vote to implement it or to not do it?
I don't think they would.
You think that they would not allow it?
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
What do you think the main reason of that is?
The thought of murder in their head. One of the cases that I know about was Maynard was her last name, and she had cancer and only wanted to live a certain amount of time because she had glioblastoma, brain cancer, and she didn't want to live once things got really bad. And so her doctor gave her this medicine, and she took it when she was ready. I think I'm okay with that because he's not saying here.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was her
this.
choice.
That's
Yeah,
where
yeah,
that's
it was
what we're
her
talking
choice.
about. Is like if
Yeah.
it would have to be like an agreement with the person's family and with them, and have to be like justified. In that
Right.
in that case, do you think that it would be acceptable? Like
Yeah, because it was her choice.
Mhm.
She decided, I've had enough. She was having 10, 12, 15 seizures a day. And she had no quality of life. She decided on her own. That's okay, because it's your life. You have that choice.
Yeah, it's not fair for, like, let's say in this situation the doctor makes a decision
Right.
that's costing the hospital too much money to keep
Right.
the person alive.
So he just gives you a shot and you die.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I don't agree with that.
Okay, well, thank you for your time.
Well, that was easy.
Yeah.